Hi participants, so continuing with this Salesforce interview questions and answers session. So now in this topic that today now we are going to look at triggers. Okay, so a very important topic called as triggers. So what are triggers? Now Apex triggers enable you to perform custom actions before or after changes to Salesforce records such as insert, update or delete. Okay, so triggers are always associated with one object. You have to and triggers are present not only in Apex but also in other databases. This is a very common thing. Like basically what happens is you want some logic to fire when a record is inserted, updated, that is before it is inserted, updated or deleted, and after it is inserted, updated. In that case, you want some logic to fire, you want some validation to happen, you want some pre-default values, or you want to do some post-saving processing per record. Then you write programs called as triggers. And this is common in all, including Oracle, MySQL, all of them have got triggers. Now, what are the trigger events? Okay, let's interview and ask you what are the different trigger events. As I told you, this is not a tutorial. The tutorial is there in the link in the video at the end as a next video. You can see, learn if you want. You want to learn a full-fledged triggers Apex coding. You can learn it from that. This is to focus on interview questions and clear the interview. Okay, so what technically they can ask you. So from that, please keep that in mind when you're going through the slides. If you want to learn fully Apex programming, you can look at my other videos, which will come up in the end as part of the playlist. Okay. Okay. Coming back to the type of trigger events, is what are the events that you have? Is before insert, after insert, before update, after update, before delete, and after delete. And there is an after and delete. Okay. So now everybody knows what is an insert, update, and delete. So I don't need to tell you more what it is. So basically, before you insert or before you update, you can do some actions. After you insert, after you update. Now, please remember there is no before undelete. What is this undelete? Technically, the interviewer might try to confuse it. So, undelete is everybody knows that if a record is deleted in Salesforce, it remains in the recycle bin for 14 days, right? So, when you try to restore that record from the recycle bin, then the undelete event will fire. Okay. So basically, what you do in the before event is you can do some validations, pre-default some values. You can prevent the delete and insert from happening for that particular record based on some condition. And after event, what you interview ask you what you do in after event is basically you do post create record creation. You want to create send email, create or update related records. In that case, okay. So what are the trigger types? So before triggers are used to update or validate records. So after triggers are used to work on like you have the record ID in the after triggers, and it can affect changes to other records such as logging into audit table, creating related contact records, etc. Please note now that interview may ask you, can you do the same thing with flows? Yes, you can do the same thing with flows. Record trigger flows, you can do the same thing, excepting for preventing of deletion and preventing of insert. These two things you cannot do in that. Okay. The records that fire after trigger are read only. So in the after trigger, what happens is the record is saved. Like so, you created an HDFC bank record. In the before you did some validation, the after the record is saved, but you want to create a contact for that account, you can do that. But you cannot manipulate the same record in the after trigger. Now, what are context variables? Now, trigger context variables are a set of variables Salesforce provides you to give you the status of what is happening in the record, so you can use your triggers, use it in the triggers. So these are some variables. Like say, let's look at this insert. Now, this will become positive if the insert is happening. So is delete if the delete action is happening, and is before and is after. You want to detect whether the record is in a is before is insert or is it in a after insert. So you can use this trigger context variables. We'll continue with trigger context in the